Hey everybody, Rosematter here. Welcome to part 20 of my Steins Gate Zero Let's Play. Last episode we finished off the recursive Mother Goose route, which was quite bittersweet. At the end especially was very emotional with, Kagari learning that Mayuri is her mother once again. And, having like a peaceful time where she was with the lab member, she was with Mayuri every day was great. And then Mayuri telling her that she was going to be going back in time to try and, get Okabe to change the future. And then at the last minute, Kagari said she was going to take her place. So once again, mother and daughter are separated. But there was like some hope there. With that ending, now we come to this one, which is the beginnings of the new route. I believe it's PR. I don't know what that stands for, but we're doing that route today. So we're going to be going back to January 15th, right? I believe that's right when the memories are going to be wiped away from Kagari, like Kirisu's memories. Where this time we are going to answer the phone and see what a difference that makes. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's get into the PR route and see what it entails. Let's go. All right, here we go. The sound of the phone ringing as all these different sounds filled the air. Let's answer the phone. Answer. The phone I pressed against Kagari's head stopped ringing, and in that moment, the world changed. Alright, so we're doing a timeline change very quickly. I was inside a deep black darkness. There was no sound, no temperature, just darkness, cold, and silence. No one was here. I didn't even know if I was asleep or awake. There was nothing but a vague sense of presence. Nothingness. Nothingness spreading out to infinity. Okay, so he wakes up like he did last time when he didn't answer the phone. He's in the lab. Huh? What was I doing? Wasn't I...
ちょっと岡部、いつまでもそんなところで寝てると風邪ひくわよ。
Oh my goodness, it is the Kagari route. Here we go. So we're on the Alpha world line again because Kirisu's here. I turned towards the voice. Standing there next to the open curtains of the development room was... This changes everything. What? What?
なんだ、クリス、いたのか。
He's not even surprised because, I mean, I think he knew what was going to happen if he answered the phone. Okay, promised Rinascimento.
いたのかとはずいぶんご挨拶だな。さっきからずっとここにいたじゃない。
So she's here, that means Mayuri isn't.
そうだったか。
そうよ。昨日も一昨日もずっとここにいたわよ。
It did seem that way, come to think of it. My head seemed like it was full of fuzz, but I wasn't sleepy or tired or anything like that. My mind was very awake, but something was missing, something important.
そういえば、ダリアン・マユリはどうした？
Yeah.
あんた、本当に大丈夫？何か不具合でもあったんじゃない？
Like, it feels like he's not fully awake, because he should know that if Kirisu's here, then that means that Daru stopped coming by Mayuri's dead, right?
どういう意味だ？
Or does this Okabe not, is he not aware of, because like last time when he woke up, and Kirisu was there, like, I think he connected immediately, like he knew pretty quickly that Mayuri was, if I'm not mistaken, like he knew pretty quickly, he's like, oh, I'm in the Alpha world line, that means Mayuri's dead.
橋田もまゆりも。ほら、
Oh, never mind. Wait a minute, did we just get our, we don't need to worry about any other timelines. We don't have to worry about getting any other routes. Everybody's together again. Who cares that there's a war coming soon?
え？
What?
僕のこの大きすぎる存在感を見落としてるなんてどうかしてるぜオカリン。
Oh, that's right. Daru and Mairi were always here, weren't they? This feels like this is a dream. Like, it feels like this is what he wants, but this isn't what happens. This isn't real. This is not real. No, it wasn't just them. No, 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 no. This is not real.
今日な、元気がないにゃ。フェイリスの萌え萌えチャームで元気を取り戻すんだにゃ。
I wonder if, like, maybe he's been captured by those guys who were after... Oh, that might be what happened. Maybe. Maybe he got captured by, Stratford, and maybe, like, they're implanting memories into him. Something's not right here. This is off. This is not right.
僕にできることがあったら何でも言ってくださいね。
Ferris and Lukako, too. And...
岡
Yeah,
部
this
倫
is...
太郎のためにその辺の食べられそうな草で私が特別ジュース作ってあげるよ。
It's like we went back in time to the OG Steins Gate. Everybody's in their old outfits.
私もいるよ、岡部くん。
Oh, Kirisu, or, sorry, Kagari won't be here, though, right? Suzuha and Mocha. All of the lab members were in the lab, like they always were. That's right. This was my daily life. This was how I spent every day. Oh my goodness!
全員いるようだな。
Does that mean that we've got Hoya and Kiyoma's back again?
ではただいまより
Yes, he is.
第65536回目の
Oh, man.
円卓会議を行う。
Yes.
準備はいいか？
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how little Ferris is. Oh, man. This was like an old CG, right? From the OG Steins Gate, but everything's like a little faded looking, like this is all just an illusion. This is just a dream.
まったく、いつも暑苦しいわね。
お前こそいい加減そのおすましフェイスはやめるんだな、常習。
だから私はあんたの助手になった覚えはないと言ったろうが。
I'm gonna call her Christina at some
オ
point.
カリンとクリスちゃんはいつも仲良しだね。
イチャイチャしやがってリア充爆発しろ。
ちょっと橋田、私がいつこいつとイチャイチャしたって言うのよ。
仲がいいほど喧嘩するって言うにゃ。羨ましいです。漆原ルカも一緒にイチャイチャすればいいじゃん。ダメです。僕にはそんなことできません。イチャイチャ。
ねえお前たち、いつまで無駄話をしている。さっさと会議を始めるぞ。
ね、今日の議題は何なんだ。
そんなものは決まっている。今日の議題は
What?
議題は
岡部？
Something was wrong.
オカリン？
Everything seemed the same, but...
どうしたんオカリン。
That's right. It was cold.
京馬？
I didn't feel it.
京馬さん。
No emotions.
岡部倫太郎？
No warmth.
岡部くん。
Everyone was here. But it was cold and dark. Cold. Cold.
岡部くん。
Cold, 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 cold.
岡部倫太郎。
It was so cold it felt like the marrow of my bones were going to
京
freeze.
馬さん。
Like my bones were made of ice.
京
Like all the blood in my body has been replaced with mercury.
オカリン。
It was cold. It felt like I was going to freeze at any moment. What was
馬。
this?
岡リン？
Where was this place? Where was I?
岡部。
I... Oh, this is not good. Looks like I'm in an underground lair, like the same one that I was in when Dr. Leskinen kidnapped me. Where was I? What was I doing? I tried to speak, but the words didn't come out. It looked like I was lying on a bed, and a very hard one at that. I slowly looked around. It wasn't the lab, and it wasn't my room. The room was old and gloomy. Of course, I'd never seen it before. What was I doing here? There was a terrible pain in my head, like someone had jammed an electrode into my brain. Probably because someone has jammed an electrode into his brain. I tried to raise my hand as I lay there, but it was too heavy. It was like all the joints in my body had frozen. It took all my strength to slowly sit up. Each time I moved a little, my muscles screamed and pain ran through my whole body. After several minutes, I finally succeeded in sitting on the edge of the bed. Looking down, I realized I was wearing a white gown like hospital patients wear. There was some kind of equipment on my head, and the cables coming out of it were connected to a strange machine. What had happened to me? Just a moment ago, I was... That's right, Kagari. Kirisu's memories had been downloaded into Kagari's head. We tried to erase them by overwriting them with Kagari's own memories. And then... That's right, I remember now. The world line had shifted right after that. What had happened then? I tried to remember, but it was like my mind was filled with fog. For now, I needed to figure out where I was. I took off the headgear and got out of bed. And collapsed. This didn't make sense. Was I just dizzy after all that was going on in my head? I tried to stand up again. And I couldn't get any strength in my legs. I kept standing up and falling over, and in the end, I was only able to get up by grabbing the side of the bed. How could standing on my own 2 feet be so exhausting? Was I sick with some terrible disease? And then maybe I'd been in bed for several days? I somehow managed to drag my weak legs to the door. It was bizarrely heavy. Or maybe it just seemed that way to me. It only opened after I put my full weight on it. The door was locked, but it seemed to be the kind that could be opened from the inside. I walked down the dark hallway, leaning up against the wall for support. At the end of the hall were stairs. I clung to the railing and slowly walked up them. At the end of the stairs, I found a hatch. Using the full strength of my back, I was just barely able to get it open. I was inside an old building. I walked down the crumbling hallway, still clueless as to what was going on, and finally found the door to the outside. Exhausted, I staggered outside. And I saw... Oh shit. Is the war already started then? I wonder if maybe we're like into the future. Maybe this is before his death? Mountains of shattered rubble. When was he supposed to die? Was it 2025? Rows of destroyed, abandoned buildings. Exposed, twisted steel girders. At first I thought it was a movie set, but it was all far too realistic for that. The walls, the windows, the ceilings, everything was destroyed. Little bits of rubble covered the ground. There were cracks in the asphalt on the road, making it impossible to walk straight. And it wasn't just directly in front of me. I spun around a full 360 degrees and saw the same scene everywhere. I smelled oil. I smelled something burning. I looked up to the sky. It was dark and gloomy. I thought it might just be cloudy, but something else seemed to be going on. I could see the hazy outline of the sun beyond the black curtain that covered the sky. A violent pain in my throat made me cough. I quickly covered my mouth with the sleeve of my gown. My eyes stung. I tried once more to calm down and see if I could remember what happened, but I had no luck. All I knew for sure was that there had been a worldline shift when I deleted Kirisu's memories from inside Kagari. The memories held by the Amadeus Kirisu. And the memories implanted in Kagari. Maybe when whoever owned them changed. That is, whoever held Kirisu's time machine theory, the world line changed with it. And this was another altered world line, which meant what I was seeing was... I saw what looked like an ash-covered stick poking out of the ground in the corner of my eye. I slowly went to take a closer look. It was sticking out of the rubble, and at the tip it split into 5 smaller branches. I'm guessing that is an arm bone or something. It was a hand. It was a human hand that had been scorched pitch black. A terrible feeling came rising up out of my stomach. Suddenly I thought I saw something move. Someone was there. Where? I listened carefully to try and pick them out. The other side of that big building. I could hear some kind of sound from over there. Was someone there? There was. Maybe they could tell me what the hell was going on. Trying my best not to make any sound, I peeked through the walls of the crumbling building. They were there all right. There were people there. Lots of them, I'm guessing that's like military. But they weren't people anymore. They were just human-shaped wads of meat. Oh, never mind. Piled up into a mountain. And on top of the mountain was a pack of dogs. Something long and slick was hanging out of the dogs' mouths. Intestines. They were eating them. They were eating the bodies. The stench was horrible. The sound of the flies was overwhelming. It was like something out of hell. My gaze met the vacant eyes of one of the bodies. One of its eyes fell out and black insects crawled out of the empty socket. This is like, I know it's kind of post-war, but it almost seems like a zombie apocalypse or something. And he just, and what, did he just, Okabe just got forgotten about in this underground bunker? It's giving me, like, Walking Dead. It's giving me 28 Days Later vibes of just, like, someone that just woke up all alone in some sort of, like, hospital or some sort of facility, you know, and then just coming out and just seeing the world just completely changed. I ran away. I ran as fast as I could, stumbling forward on failing legs. Somewhere. Was there somewhere around here that was sane? But no matter how far I went, it was the same thing. Mountains of rubble, rows of abandoned buildings. All I could see were the dead. There were no living humans. And then I found it. There were rows of huge buildings which all looked as if they were about to fall over. The roads were full of cracks. There was a warped overpass sticking out of the ground. A few rows of iron and railroad ties. I knew it. I knew this place. It was only a shadow of its former self, but I knew it. This was Akihabara, which meant...
ラボはどうなった
Where was Mayuri? Where was Daru? Where was Ferris? What about Lukako or Suzaha? What happened to Maho and Kagari? Just as I ran toward the lab to find out, I heard footsteps behind me. Rough footsteps stomping over the rubble. More than one set. They got louder and louder, and soon I saw them coming towards me from between the crumbling buildings. There were 3 of them. They each had assault rifles in their hands. When they saw me, they all pointed their guns at me. There was so much I wanted to ask them. There were things I wanted to know. But the only thought that came to me was that I needed to get away. Maybe don't run from the guys who were, you know, armed. Bad idea. But even as I tried to turn and run, my body refused to listen. They must have sensed I was about to flee because one of them yelled. Holes appeared in the concrete at my feet. They'd shot at me. They really shot at me. They'd shot at me with real guns. If I'd been just a little closer, they would have hit me. I was too scared to stand. The men got closer, still holding their guns. Run. You have to run. But it was like my body belonged to someone else. It wasn't listening to me. The men kept getting closer. And then there was another sharp noise. One of the men collapsed to the side. He hit his head on the rubble and stopped moving. The other two waved their guns around, clearly confused as to what just happened. Maybe Suzuha's here to save me. Yeah, she is. Hell yeah, something dragged me to the ground. And then more gunshots. The two of them fell backward, still holding their weapons at almost the exact same time. They died, right in front of me. Someone had died. I could do nothing more than sit there and watch as a silhouette moved in front of me. Wait, that is Suzuha, right? I looked up, and the person I saw was... Yeah. I mean, who else would it be, right? Suzuha.
いつまでボケっと座っているつもりだ。
お前、殺したのか？
何を生っちょろいこと言ってるんだ、お前。
It was a colder voice than I'd ever heard. I was gonna say, like, it sounded like Suzuha, but also not, because she's in military mode. She is in survival mode.
お前、鈴葉だよな。
Her iron mask of an expression suddenly changed to surprise. But that was only for a moment. A second later, and the fierceness had returned.
お前、何者だ？
Oh, wait, what? She doesn't know who he is? Did she really not?
俺のこと知らないのか？
Did the change in the world line mean that Suzuha and I had never met?
岡部だよ。岡部倫太郎だ。
The expression on her face changed again.
岡部倫太郎？そんな。
Is he supposed to be dead at this point? I'm so confused right now. Two pairs of icy footsteps sounded in the darkness.
こっちだ。
After I'd given my name, Suzuha had stared at me suspiciously for a moment. Then she'd made some kind of call and told me to come with her. She made me wear a blindfold almost the entire time. So I had no idea which way I'd gone or where I was.
止まれ。
I did as she said. When I heard the knock, I finally realized we were in front of a door.
君に萌え萌え
Haha, Daru.
バッキュンキュン。
入れ
Evidently, that was the password. I could only think of one man who'd choose such a stupid password. I heard the sound of a heavily locked door opening, and at last I saw a dimly lit room in the darkness. That means he's gonna see Daru, Mairi, maybe little Kagari too? The room was piled high with what looked like mechanical junk. Rows of instruments lined the walls. A man was sitting in front of them, looking straight at me.
よかったやっと目を覚ましたんだな
Oh my
Okabe.
gosh. Daru! Did he slim down? Who was this guy? How did he know my name? He must have been in his mid-40s. He was a big, broad-shouldered man with a stubbly face. There was a sharp but gentle light in his eyes. I felt like I'd seen him somewhere before.
あの、
He did what everyone told him to do.
Oh, no,
They were
no.
like, you gotta get in shape. You gotta, for Yuki, to impress her, even though Yuki liked him the way he was. But it's funny, too, because, like, in the flashbacks we saw with Kagari, like, Daru was the same size, and now he's way different. Look at him! Oh my
やだな
goodness!
僕のこと忘れたんそりゃいくらなんでも冷たいぜオカリン
Same hat, though, same shirt. The way he talked, and that voice. There was only one person it could be, but that was...
まさかダルか
That's why Daru looks so much older and Suzuha looks exactly the same. The man's face broke into a broad smile. I mean, to be fair, she did come from the future, so we would see her at her age she was in the future, I guess.
よかった覚えててくれててっきり忘れられたのかと思ったのだぜ
ダル。本当にダルなの
I
か？
wonder what Okabe looks like. He must look different too, right? Like, he must have aged, because Suzuha didn't recognize him.
こんなナイスガイ僕以外にいるわけないじゃんな鈴葉
せめてもうちょっと痩せてくれれば認めなくもないけど。
そう言うなって。これでも若い頃に比べれば随分と痩せたんだぜ。
That's certainly true. Indeed, the Daru in front of me was quite a bit slimmer than the Daru I knew.
というか父さん、少し言葉遣いおかしくない？
僕も久々にこういう話し方したよ。でもオカリンはこの方が話しやすいだろうと思ってさ。
The more pressing issue, though, was his age. He was clearly a middle-aged man. The youngest I could possibly imagine him to be was his early 40s. Is there a mirror? Come on, I want to see what Okabe looks like. And then I saw a shelf in the corner. I saw a man I didn't know reflected in its glass. It was another man like him, in his 40s. He was staring at me with a gloomy, sunken face. I slowly raised my right hand, and the man raised his left as if copying me.
ダル、
Are we not gonna see?
一つ教えてくれ。何でもどうぞ。今は何年だ？
Daru's smile quickly became something more serious as he answered me.
2036年。世界は戦乱の真っ只中だ。
Right? Suzaha said it was impossible because, like, he was supposed to die in 2025? Okay, well, this doesn't seem like this is going to be a very good route. Daru gave me all the details.
それじゃあ本当に今は2036年なのか？そういうこと。
It seemed unbelievable, but Daru's appearance, and more than anything, my own, made it undeniable. 2036. Suzaha had said the World War III would start sometime in the next 10 years. 5.7 billion people would die, and the population of Tokyo would drop to a tenth of what it once was. After that, the Third World War itself would end, but the chaos would continue, and even in Japan, no, everywhere around the world, battles would continue. Was that what I had just seen?
だがどうして俺はそのことを何も覚えていないんだ？
All my memories were of 2011. I had no memories of the past 25 years. My last memory was of erasing Kirisu's memories from Kagari's head.
それに俺は2025
Okay,
年に死
yay
ぬ
for
と
remembering minor
鈴葉
details.
から聞かされていた。どうして生きているんだ？
それは私も聞きたい父さん。
Suzaha chimed in.
私たちはみんなオカリンおじさんは10年前に死んだって聞かされてきたんだ。
Yeah, Daru doesn't seem... Yeah, Daru's hiding something. Like, he didn't even seem surprised at all to see Okabe. Suzaha leaned over him.
父さん、これはどういうこと？
Oh,
もし
shit.
かして私たちを騙してたのか？
So what, all the time, all this, like we were running on false information?
落ち着け鈴葉。ちゃんと説明するから。
Daru looked over at me as if he was remembering old times, and then resumed his explanation.
オカリンは2011年の1月半ばまでの記憶しかないってことで OK？ ああ。2011年の1月に世界線が変動した。それ以降のことは覚えていない。
I'd gotten 25 years older without realizing it. That fact was starting to eat away at me.
やっぱ体の方に少し問題があるのか、それとも混乱してるのか。今のオカリンの頭の中には2011年の1月末までの記憶がなきゃいけないんだけど。末？
Up to the end.
どうして1月末なんだ？
Okay, so we changed it in on the 15th. So halfway through.
マホタンがオカリンの記憶をデータとして保存したのが2011年1月末のことだからさ。
What happened to Maho during all this? Is she still alive? Yajo saved my memories?
アマデウスの研究の役に立ちたいから記憶サンプルを取ってくれってオカリンからマホタンに頼んだらしいじゃん。俺がアマデウスの
And then I realized something incredible.
ということはもしかして今の俺の
Oh, wait,
脳の中は
Do I have Kirisu's memories maybe? Like they got put in me so they wouldn't be lost?
そう、お察しの通り今のオカリンの脳内にある
That'd
記
be
憶は
wild, because it
その
feels like
時の 2011年にデータ化された記憶なんだ。
Because I'm like, Kirisu's memories, like, those are very important, right? Because she has information about the time machine. Like, do they just wipe her memories completely? Or maybe they got implanted into Okabe so that they wouldn't be forgotten about? I don't know. Digitized memories inside my head.
ちょっと待って父さん、話が全く見えない。そもそもどうしてオカリンおじさんが生きてるの？おじさんは2025年に死んだって言ってただろ？
死んだよ。事実上はね。
事実上？
タイムマシン開発競争はその頃がピークだったんだ。各国のいろんな機関がマキセ・クリスが残した論文と彼女の記憶を欲していた。でもその時点でマキセ・クリスの遺産は全部ストラト4の手に渡ってたんだよね。
Stratfor.
ただ連中をもってしても論文の中身を確かめることはどうしてもできなかった。ロックを解除できなかったんでね。ちなみにそのロックを開発したのは2010年の僕。
Okay.
そこでストラト4はマキセ・クリスをよく知る人物を捕まえて情報を聞き出そうとしたんだ。それが俺か。連中はオカリンの記憶からマキセ・クリスについての情報を取り出すためにあらゆる手を使ったらしい。僕たちが助け出した時にはオカリンの精神はボロボロだった。まともに生きるための能力さえ失ってた。回復する見込みのない死んだのとほぼ変わらない状態だったんだ。
Okay, so he's what? He's basically... When he said he died in 2025, do they mean like he's brain dead? But, I mean, he still seems okay to me, relatively speaking.
それじゃあ肉体は生きていたってこと？
So maybe they put him down there in that, like, Daru knew about that. They put him in that thing to, like, strap him with something to try and get his memories back, to try and get his brain working again.
そういうこと。
Maybe that was the moment we, like, the timeline changed. It was like we got our memories back and we, or some of them anyway, and woke up.
これはオカリン自身の入れ知恵でもあった。オカリンは自分が狙われてることに危機感を覚えてたからね。
でもせめて私にくらいは教えてくれてもよかったはずだ。
敵を騙すにはまず味方からって言うだろ。
そんな。
Suzuha seemed a little depressed. It must have come as a shock her dad didn't trust her.
そんな顔するな、鈴葉。このことを知ってたのはワルキューレの中でもごく限られた一部の人間だけだ。
I knew the name Valkyrie. Suzuha had talked about it a lot in 2010. It was the name of Darwin Suzuha's resistance organization. Okay, it's good to get a reminder of these things because I forgot about that. Resistance, an armed group of irregular fighters who oppose a government or the members of that group. The difference between a resistance fighter and a terrorist is a very slim one.
話を続けよう。オカリンは心を破壊されたせいで生きるための能力を失っていた。放っておいたら肉体さえ死んでしまう状態だった。そこで事実を知る一部の人間の手によってこことは別の施設でずっと面倒を見てきたんだ。
Except, I didn't see anybody when I was there. Hopefully they're okay. From 2025 to 2036. 11 years without letting anyone find out. You needed nutrients to keep your body alive. And since I was in bed the whole time, my joints would have gotten stiff, and friction against the bed would have caused my skin to split open. Someone had watched over me the whole time to keep that from happening.
もしかして
I bet it was Mayuri.
マユリ
Yeah, I mean, of course it would be.
マユシだけじゃない。フェイリスタンや
Hey, Maho.
ルカシ、それにマホタンもだ。
They were alive. Mayuri, Ferris, and Lukako. Even in this terrifying world, they were still alive and still looking after me. He's got such good friends. They had been for years.
なあ、ダル、どうして俺は今になって目を覚ましたんだろうか。
My memories had been digitized in 2011. They'd known those memories existed. They could have downloaded them into me a lot earlier, right?
それは単純な話さ。オカリンの記憶データはつい最近まで どこにあるかわからなかったんだよね。
And then the timeline shifted.
つうか、オカリンとマキセ・クリスの記憶データはストラト4がずっと保管してたんだけど、その保管場所がずっとわからなかったわけ。見つけたのは半月前。どこにあったと思う？
Oh, okay.
驚くぜ。
どこだ？
東大元暮らし。大学だよ、僕たちの。
まさか東京電機大学か？
その地下に連中の支部があったんだよ。つっても今はほとんど廃墟になってるけどな。
Stratfor had a base in the basement of Tokyo Denki, so that's probably where they had kept him in the whatever the first route I did was.
で、半月前にオカリンの記憶データをサルベージした僕たちは早速脳にデータをダウンロー
Well,
ドした。
actually, maybe not. I mean, the idea that they happen to have like a secret bunker under a big university, unlikely. But for the next 10 days, I hadn't woken up. Just as they were about to give up, I'd finally awoken. After 25 years. 25 years. I stared at my hands. They were so thin I could almost see the bone, and I could see veins popping out of them. The face reflected in the glass was unhealthy and wrinkled. My hair was starting to turn white too.
起きたら25年後だったなんて。とんだ浦島太郎だな。気持ちの整理がつかないのも無理ないさ。
Of course it was a shock. But the most shocking thing was,
この記憶は一度データになったものなんだな。
my memories since I was a kid. My memories of that summer. My memories with Kirisu. All of them had been transformed into zeros and ones. Could you still say I was a person? Could I still be called human?
でもそれを言うなら、マキセ氏のタイムリープマシン技術だって同じじゃん。オカリンはあれ、何度も経験したはずっしょ。
He was right. But even if I knew it in my head, it still felt strange. I'd been cut off from 25 years of time. It had all been forgotten and left behind in a digital world. It felt like it had been stolen from me.
私はやっぱり納得いかない。
そう言うなって鈴葉。
父さんはいい。そうやって世界中を騙していたんだから。
Oh, I didn't have a choice. Deceived, huh? I'd been deceived too. I'd been told I was fated to die in 2025, and that even in the beta world line that wouldn't change. But no matter how it happened, I was alive right now. That's pretty cool that like we were given false information, both the player and Okabe himself, to find out that there was a reason that we were lied to. Even in the past, I'd been deceived by the future, and it wasn't just me. Suzuha and everyone else. The whole world had been deceived.
世界が騙される。
And then there was a knock on the outside of the door. There was a visitor, it seemed. Mayuri? Mayuri, maybe? Suzuha got close to the door. After hearing the world's most ridiculous password, Suzuha unlocked the door. It opened and a young girl came in. Ah, Kagari. It'll be our first time seeing her as a little girl.
カガリ、ここには用がある時以外は来るなと言ってるだろう。
Kagari. This child was a young Kagari?
ごめんなさい。でもママたちみんな出かけて帰ってこないんだもん。
まあまあ、そう目くじら立てることもないだろう。
また父さんはそうやって甘やかす。こういうことはきちんとしておかなきゃダメなんだ。
The way they interacted hadn't changed in 25 years. I ignored them and looked at Kagari. And she seemed to notice me too.
こんにちは。
She's so cute.
こんにちは。
That must be so strange, like you knew her as an adult and now you see her as a child.
おじさんは誰？
俺か？俺は。
And you're like, who am I, actually?
ん？
そうだな。君のママの友達だ。
I hesitated for a moment, but decided not to give her my name.
まゆりママの？
ああ、そうだ。
へえ。
ママは優しいか？
うん。
ママのこと好きか？
うん。大好き。
Aw.
そうか。
I could see the love she felt for her mother radiating from her face. Mayuri must have raised her with a lot of love, too. She'd been raised with everything Mayuri could give her. But after this, she was going to go to the past. She would be all alone in the past, separated from her beloved Mayuri. And then they would catch her and use her as a test subject.
そういえば父さん、まゆ姉さんには伝えたのか？おじさんが目覚めたこと。
あ、いかん。すっかり忘れてた。早く教えてやらんと。
He took out what looked like a small wireless radio.
こちら、バレルタイター。応答せよ。こちら、バレルタイター。
こちら、スターダストシェイクハンドです。どうぞ。
The voice I heard from the speaker was definitely Mayuri's. It felt a lot calmer than what I was used to, but it was definitely Mayuri. Wait, what was Stardust Handshake?
ああ、かがりちゃん。誰おじさんのところにいるの？うん。おじさんは大事なお仕事があるから、あんまり邪魔しちゃダメだよ。はーい。
そんなことよりまゆし、スペシャルなニュースだ。
スペシャルなニュース？
ああ、心して聞いてくれ。オカリンが目覚めた。
本当に？本当に？オカリンが？どうしたの？まゆし。オカリンが。オカリンが。
もしかして岡部さん、目を覚ましたんですか？
本当？オカリン、起きてるにゃ。
I heard one voice I knew after another coming from the radio. The voices didn't seem to have changed all that much.
そういうわけで3人ともすぐに戻ってきた方がいい。
Aw.
まゆし、どうした？まゆし。
ダメ。まゆしは嬉しさのあまり涙ぐんで声も出ないみたい。
まあ、無理もないよな。オカリンの復活を一番望んでたのはまゆしなんだからさ。
Mayuri.
とにかくみんな早く戻った方がいい。
わかった。食料受け取ったらすぐに戻るわ。
Everyone else was overjoyed, but I saw that Suzuha's expression was clouded.
どうした、鈴葉。
なんでまゆ姉さんたち食料調達に出ている？今日は予定になかったはずだ。
え？
そんなはずない。確かに今日だって昨日の夜遅くに連絡が。まずい、それは罠だ。
Oh
みん
no.
なすぐに戻って。
Ah, god damn it. Just as we're about to get reunited. A scream from the speaker cut her off.
どうした？何があった？
襲撃です。敵襲が。
くそ。
マイルちゃん、フィリーさん、逃げて。ここは僕が。
でもそんなことしたらルカニャンが。
僕なら大丈夫ですから。早く。
Look at Luca being so brave.
父さん。
おう。
Now, Lucas said that he wanted to be strong, right? He wanted to be brave, and he is. Suzuha started running, and Daru followed after.
待ってくれダル俺も行く
でもオカリン、その体じゃ。
行かせてくれ頼む
He hesitated for a moment, but quickly nodded and offered me his shoulder. He was a little thinner than when he was young, but his shoulder was still gigantic. I put my weight on it as we followed Suzuha. When we finally got there, I saw several silhouettes. I'd been mentally preparing myself for a fierce battle, but the whole place was dead quiet. There were several men dressed like soldiers lying on the ground nearby. In front of them was Suzuha. Kneeling next to her were two women, and at their feet... Uh-oh. Oh no! I could tell at a glance. The person lying there was Lukako. Well, this is a little bit of a bittersweet reunion, huh? The two women looked up at me. Myra and Ferris both seemed beaten down by the passage of time. Oh, he looks the same. God damn it! It's like we get one person back, they get one person back, they lose someone.
Okabe.
His features had grown more gallant, but his face was still soft and feminine. Lukako looked at me with hazy eyes.
Lukako.
本当に岡部さん。
ああ、ルカコ。俺だ。
その呼び方。本物の岡部さん。
A single trail of blood dripped from Lukako's mouth. His outfit was stained with blood over his right breast, and the blood dripped over onto the ground. I knew immediately the wound was fatal.
よかった。さっきの話は嘘じゃなかったんですね。
ああ、お前たちのおかげでこうして目覚めることができた。ありがとう。
Lukako's hand reached up towards the sky as if he was looking for something. Maybe he couldn't even see me anymore. When I grabbed his hand, it was very cold.
岡部さん。
どうした？
僕。
Oh, he's gonna be like, I became brave or something like that.
ああ。
京馬さんに教えてもらった精神ザマ流の心へのおかげで今までまゆりちゃんやみんなを守ってこられました。
ああ。
僕仲間になれましたよね。
Oh, I should be like you always were.
皆さんの本当の仲間になれましたよね。
バカ。お前は最初からずっと俺たちの仲間だ。
Lukako reached out a cold hand and touched my cheek, and smiled a dazzling smile.
嬉しいな。
That was all he said, and then the touch of my cheek disappeared.
ルカコ。ルカコ。
ルカ
The cold hand fell to the rubble-covered ground.
あああ。
And never moved again.
ああああ。なんてことだ。
よかった。ルカ君はオカリンとずっと会いたがっていたから。最後に会えたのは本当によかった。
Glad? She was glad? After this, I know what she's trying to say, but I'm like, yeah, maybe not the best wording. Mayuri's words made me realize how hellish the last 25 years I'd slept through must have been.
漆原ルカ、あなたはとても立派に戦いました。私たちはあなたに救われました。どうか安らかに。
こんなのあんまりだろ。
まゆしは
泣き疲れて眠ったよ。
無理もないよな。
Man, what a roller
まゆ
coaster
し
of
はルカ
emotions
氏と
that must have
ず
been
っ
for
と
them.
仲良かったから。
ルカ兄さん、
Lukako was dead. He died protecting Mayuri and Ferris. In my mind, his death overlapped with Mayuri's. Mayuri's hands got colder, and so did Lukako's. It was the same no matter where I went. Mayuri, Lukako, and Kirisu, everyone dies.
あの戦争をきっかけにたくさんの人間が死んだ。小学校の友達も中学高校の友達も大学の友達も親戚も先生も知り合いも大人も子供も、それから大切な人も。
Oh, Yuki, right?
たくさんの、
Yeah.
本当にたくさんの人間が死んだんだ。
I knew this was coming. At least I thought I knew. If I didn't reach Steins Gate, if I stayed in the beta world line, the world would eventually burn. I'd heard it 1,000 times. Maybe now that he's actually experienced it. I mean, he experienced it in one of the timelines where he was being like taken in by the military, and there was that whole thing where he's being sent to the US to be interrogated. But like, this is a whole other level to see one of his friends be killed in front of him. Maybe this will make him be like, I have to change this. And I thought I knew what the future would be like. But in the end, it was just a story about the distant future. It didn't feel real at all. I could only imagine it. All I had were vague, unrealistic ideas. All the thousands of nightmares I'd experienced. I thought nothing could be worse than that. But when I saw it with my own eyes, heard it with my own ears, and felt it with my own skin, I realized that everything I'd thought was wrong. Piles of bodies, wild dogs devouring human corpses, dead soldiers, the smell of burning flesh, the smell of rotting organs, the warmth of Lukako's blood in my hands, the warmth of Mayuri's blood, the warmth of Kirisu's blood. I thought, if nothing else, I'd managed to save Mayuri. I'd let Kirisu die, turned my eyes away from reality, and told myself that at least I'd saved Mayuri and the others. But in the end, I hadn't saved anyone. Even if I had, I'd only saved myself. I was the only person I'd managed to save. No one else. Not Kirisu. Not Mayuri. Not Kagari. Not Lukako. I hadn't saved anyone.
クリスをアマデウスの呪縛から解放してやってくれ。伝言、2025年のオカリンから。俺の伝言。
Are we going to see Maho at some point?
シュタインズゲート世界線への道は険しい。一度や二度やり直したところでたどり着ける道ではないだろう。けれどまずはそこから始めることが シュタインズゲートへとつながるんじゃないか。いくつもの未来の先が過去へとつながっているんじゃないか。11年前、オカリンはそう言ってた。
クリスを解放。
だからさ、僕たちがいるこの世界も無駄じゃない。きっと必要な世界なんだ。少なくとも今の僕はそう思ってる。もちろんだからってこのままでいいってわけじゃない。
誰？
だからさ、オカリン、もう一度戻って考えてみてもいいんじゃね？オカリンの記憶の途切れたその時間にさ。
I'm curious of like how long this route is going to be. We're so far in already.
2011年にか。でも
So we're going back again? Are we already going to be finishing off this time? This route? No, no way. I could see my aged body in the
第
glass.
一、この姿のまま戻ったところで俺に何ができる？
できるわ。
Maho! I heard a voice I recognized from the radio.
久しぶりね、岡部さん。11年ぶりかしら。
ヒヤジョーさんか？
部屋の奥を見なさい。
As if he'd known what she was going to say, Daro had moved to a spot in the back of the room where the lights didn't reach. Suddenly, it got brighter, and I saw.
電話レンチかっこかり。
They were waiting for him to wake up to hopefully go back in time.
あなたや橋田さんから話を聞いて私が作ったものよ。ほら、ちゃんと VR ヘッドも用意してあるでしょ。
こんなこともあろうかとリフターも用意してやる。
Daro went on to explain that for the last 11 years, he'd maintained an environment where I could receive the time leap, even in a coma. That made sense. Even if I was in a coma, as long as I put the receiver up to my head, it would still function. Myra and the others had taken care of my body since 2025. So Daro and Maho had known that this day would come 11 years ago? Or maybe I told them so back in 2025.
改良を重ねた結果、跳躍可能時間は336時間。一度の跳躍で1週間は遡ることが可能よ。
336時間。2週間か。
ただし、それも途中まで。マシンを改良してそれが可能になったのは10年ほど前だから、それ以前は前と変わらず48時間しか跳躍できない。
In other words, if I wanted to go back to the end of January 2011, I'd need about 3,000 time leaps.
とてつもなく
Almost 3,000 time leaps. Was I really capable of something like that anymore? I'm trying to think of like, how many consecutive time leaps has he done? What is the highest number? Certainly less than that.
しんどくなったら途中で休めばいい。
誰？
大丈夫よ。どの時間にたどり着いても必ず私たちがいるから。
ヒヤジョーさん。
私ね、後悔しているの。アマデウスのせいで、あの子は死んでもなお多くの横島な人々に利用されようとしていた。何年も何十年も。だから私からもお願い。あの子を、クリスを醜い欲望の渦から解放してあげて。クリスを救ってあげて。それができるのは岡部さん。
Okay, so this will
あなただ
be...
けよ。
This is the Kirisu route, I'm guessing? I didn't know if I could do it anymore. There was no guarantee that the path I was about to travel would ever lead to Steins Gate. But even so...
もう一度
Anything's better than this,
考
right?
えるか。
What could I do? What should I do?
二人とも頼む。
オキドキ。
As soon as the words were out of his mouth, he started getting ready.
岡部さん、 もしも次にクリスに会えたら言ってやって。未来の私はあなたの7倍もの時間跳躍を可能にしたわよって。
わかった。
If I ever saw Kirisu.
オカリン、こっちの準備は OK だ。
早いな。
メンテは怠ってないからね。
さすがだな。
まあな。
The phone waved in the VR headset. They looked a little different than what I'd seen in the old lab, but they were still our future gadgets.
あ、でも、まゆ姉さんたちとは話さなくていいの？
今飛ばないと決心が鈍りそうだ。それに今会えなくてもいくらだって会えるさ。過去の世界で。
そうだな。
Daru smiled as I took the VR headset out of his hand and put it on my head.
それじゃあまた2週間前でな。
ああ、2週間前で。
しっかりね。
And then, I jumped back into the past once more. It took a long, long time. The journey was unimaginably long. Alright, so we are at the end of the month, the end of January. I looked at the phone I was holding in my hand. The date read January 31st, 2011. No doubt about it. I was back. I had finally made it back. I'd gone back through so many years. I'd done thousands of time leaps. Gone through the war. I'd almost died. I thought of giving up a bunch of times. But each time I'd remembered it all. That ruined world. The piles of corpses. The screams. The shouting. The dripping blood. And Daru and Maho and how they'd sent me off. After a long, long, unimaginably long time, I'd finally made it back to this time.
オカリン、
See, you have to fix
何
things so
か
that you
良
don't
く
have to
な
do
い知
that
らせ
again.
でもあったの？電話に出てからなんだかぼーっとしてるから。
いや、そうじゃない。そういうわけじゃないんだ。
Myri was here.
もしかしてまだお正月の気分が抜けないのかにゃ？
Ferris was here.
しっかりしてくれよな。
And Daru. And Lukako. And Suzaha. And Kagari. And Maho. Maho and Kagari were here too.
もしかして
So yeah, what happened
この
after
前
that
の
whole
疲れが出
thing
ちゃった
with...
かしら。
I'm guessing nothing happened. All that stuff with, like, us encountering those guys. All that stuff with, you know... Well, how's Kagari doing, like, right now? Is she still suffering from all of... I mean, we did remove the memories, right? Kirisu's memories from her, so she should hopefully be okay.
この前。
ほら、この前ア
Ah,
マデウス
that's
の
right.
サンプル用に記
That's
憶デ
right.
ータを取ったでしょ？
They said that. Oh, right. Daru had mentioned that. He'd said it was at the end of January.
あ、いや、そうじゃないんだ。ちょっとな。かがり、
ん？なに？オカリンさん。
この時代に来てからの記憶はまだ思い出せないのか？そうか。
どうしたの？いきなり。
なんでもない。ただ少し確かめただけだ。
なにそれ？変なオカリンさん。
Since I'd come from the future, I knew. In this worldline, Kirisu's memories no longer existed inside Kagari's head.
でも私ね、別にこのままでもいいかなって思ってるんだ。だってここにはママもい
Alright,
る
so
し、
she also knows that
ルカ君やルミお
Myri's her
姉ちゃんもいるし、食べ物だっていっぱいあるし、無理に思い出す必要もないんじゃないかって。
そうか。
maybe that was fine for now, but the future was going to be filled with sorrow. For Myri, for Ferris, for Lukako, for Daru, for Suzaha, for Kagari, and for Maho. Did I really make the right choice when I decided to let Kirisu die? After everyone had left and I was all alone, all the exhaustion came crashing down on me. I time leaped 3,000 times. I thought I'd be able to work things out in my head along the way, but I'd been so desperate to return to the past that I hadn't had time. My mind was worn down after all the time leaps. I thought I'd made my decision, but I found myself wavering again and again. I'd only managed to do it by telling myself that I had to get back before I could make any decisions. And now my head just felt so tired. What should I do now? What should I do? For now, I didn't want to think about anything, but I felt too awake to even sleep. With everyone gone, the temperature in the lab quickly dropped. It was freezing. But it was nothing compared to the cold I'd felt before. That world that I'd seen right after I erased Kirisu's memories from Kagari. Kirisu was there, Mayuri was there, everyone was there. It was a scene from that very brief peace I'd had during that summer. But that world had been so cold, and now I knew why. That was the world that I'd experienced when I was asleep, existing only as data. A world built only of zeros and ones, like being alive even when you're dead, or being forced to stay alive even though you were dead. The people I loved were there, but there was no warmth. I could reach out and touch them, but there wasn't even a little bit of warmth. It was like floating in deep, dark space without any light at all. And Kirisu Makise was now experiencing that too. She was all alone in a cold world without the slightest trace of warmth. I raised my hand up under the fluorescent light. I could see the veins rising up out of it and the red blood flowing in them. I was alive. There was warmth. But could I really say that I was alive? Now that my memories had been digitized, after being exposed to that cold world, could I still really be called human? I heard a knock at the door and turned my eyes toward it. Maho was standing there.
平城さん帰ったんじゃなかったのか。
ちょっと忘れ物をしちゃってね。
忘れ物。
それより、あなたこそ一人で何をしているのかしら？
Maho showed no signs of looking for whatever she'd lost. Instead, she came right up and sat down in front of me.
さっきもずっと難しい顔してたわよね。何か気になることでもあるの？
Maybe she'd been worried enough to come back and check on me.
私じゃクリスの代わりにはなれないかもしれないけど、それでもよければ話してみて。
平城さん。
There was no need to worry about whether I could tell her or not. I needed her to make the time leap machine. And for that, she needed to hear everything.
嘘みたいな話だが、聞いてくれるか。
I wonder if it gets tiring for him to have to tell people the same thing over and over again.
まったく。あなたなんて人なの？
That was the first thing she'd said after I finished. Just like last time, it wasn't something that was easy for her to believe. But Maho must have sensed something in the way that I spoke because she listened until I finished. She interrupted me whenever there was something she didn't understand. She was especially interested in the time machine and the time leaps. I told her everything I knew about them.
信じてくれるのか。
信じないわけにはいかないでしょ。そんな顔して語られたら。それに実際にこんなものを見せられたら。
平城さん。
それにこれで納得がいったわ。前クリスは秋葉原に来てほとんど日を置かないまま死んでしまった。そんな彼女とあなたがそれほどに仲良くなれたということが。特にあの子のあの性格でしょ。そんな期間にそれも男の人と親しくなるなんてよっぽどのことがあったんじゃないかと思っていたのだけど。
So that was it, she whispered to herself.
それであなたは何を気にしているの？
I turned away from her.
岡部さん？
俺なんだろうか。
どういうこと？
聞いただろ。今の俺の頭の中にある記憶、それは一度データとなってハードディスクの中に保管されていた記憶だ。いわば人工記憶と言ってもいい。そんな俺は果たして俺自身だと言えるんだろうか。生きている、そう言えるんだろうか。
There was blood running through my body, but what was in my head had been changed into zeros and ones. Didn't that make me no different than Amadeus?
なんだ、そんなことで悩んでたの？バカバカしい。
But Maho just laughed at my worries.
あなたは哲学的ゾンビって知ってる？
Alright, interesting. Philosophical zombie. A thought experiment proposed by philosopher David Chalmers to explain qualia. Qualia are individual sensory experiences like red, a good smell, or sweet. A philosophical zombie is someone whose external experience, internal structure, and words and actions mirror a human's, but who lacks these qualia. In this case, we would be unable to distinguish between philosophical zombies and ordinary humans.
確か思考実験の一つだろ。姿形から行動に至るまで人間そっくりだが、意識や感情が欠乏している存在は客観的に人間と区別ができるのかどうかという。
I hesitated a little as I answered her sudden question.
ま、大体合っているわね。
She nodded, satisfied, like a teacher would do.
じゃあ仮にここに人間そっくりの外見をした人工知能が存在するとするわよ。人間と同じように振る舞い、同じように行動する。誰かが困っていれば手を差し伸ばし、悲しい時には涙する。これは決められたプロセスなのかもしれないけれど、でもそれは人間だって同じ。個人個人で定められたプロセスに従って考えて反応する。私たちはそのプロセスを意識や感情という言葉に置き換えているだけじゃないかしら。
I thought I understood what Maho was trying to say.
つまり AI にだって感情はあると？
少なくとも私たち科学者はそういうものを作り出すために日々研究を重ねているつもりよ。
She puffed out her chest with pride.
じゃあ岡部さん、あなたは感情を持った AI は人ではないと思う？
They looked just like a person and thought just like them and had feelings too. They were a person.
いや。
でしょ？そもそも個人を個人たらしめているのは記憶よ。その人が生まれ経験したこと、感じたもの、その集合体が人間なの。だから岡部倫太郎、たとえ一度データになっていても、あなたの記憶と体を持つあなたは紛れもなく人間、岡部倫太郎よ。心配いらない。
ヒアジョーさん。
だいたいクリスの作り出したっていうそのタイムリープマシンだって記憶を一度データ化して還元するものなんでしょ？だったら今さら思い悩むだけ無駄だと思わない？
That was what Daru had told me in the future too. But strangely, when she said it, it made me feel better.
こういう時クリスならもっと的確なことを言えたのかもしれないけど。
いや、そんなことないよ。十分だ。
Maho had given her opinion as a brain scientist that I was still me. There was a strength in her words, just like there had been in Kirisu's when she'd driven me forward. I remembered what Maho had said before.
あなたは天才で、所詮私はサリエリだったってことよ。
She'd been speaking to the memories of Kirisu inside Kagari, but
ヒアジョーさん。君はサリエリなんかじゃない。
え？
立派なアマデウスだ。
that's right. I'm here, right now. I'm alive and here in this time, not in that cold sea of black data. I'm here in this time. A light came on in the darkness. My cold heart began to warm. But Kirisu, she was still trapped inside that world. Inside that sterile, lifeless world that froze you to the depths of your soul. Even after her death, her memories were still alive. And there was all kinds of conspiracies forming around her living memories. Even after she lost her body, Kirisu's pain continued. No, it wasn't just Kirisu. Kagari and Suzuha, and in the future, Mayuri, Ferris, Lukako, and Daru too. Everyone was suffering, everyone was miserable, but still they tried to move forward. All I had cared about was whether Mayuri survived. I thought even if the Third World War came, no matter what happened to the world, as long as Mayuri was happy, that was all that mattered. I tried to think that. I thought, no matter how much blood and tears awaited us in the future, as long as things were fine now, that was all that mattered. I thought I'd understood. I thought I'd understood how awful the future that Suzuha described was, and how hard Daru and Suzuha would have to fight. I thought I understood all that. Suzuha firing her gun and staining her hands with blood like it was nothing at all. Mayuri and Ferris pale and colorless. Lukako lying on the ground and never getting up again. Kagari and the others whose lives were ruined by fate. I'd seen them with my own eyes and touched them with my own hands, and then I finally understood. I'd been only pretending to know so I could run away. I told myself I was going to die in 2025 and looked the other way. 2025. I wasn't dead. Everyone just thought so. Everyone had been deceived. That's right, deceived. Me in the past, and everyone else in the future. The world was deceived. I thought the future was settled. But a different future awaited me. So I wonder if, like, maybe he's thinking about, like, what other things could be, you know, that he thought were a for sure thing might not be a for sure thing after all.
シュタインズゲート世界線への道は険しい。一度や二度やり直したところでたどり着ける道ではないだろう。けれど、まずはそこから始めることがシュタインズゲートへとつながるんじゃないか。11年前、オカリンはそう言ってた。だからさ、僕たちがいるこの世界も無駄じゃない。きっと必要な世界なんだ。少なくとも今の僕はそう思ってる。
I had no way of knowing what would make me say that 14 years from now. All I knew was that 14 years from now, I would know this day was coming. So maybe I should do what I said. If that future in 2036 was necessary, then maybe a world where Kirisu is released from her electronic prison was necessary too. No matter how hard the path would be, I had to take the first step. And what I needed right now was that first step.
ヒアジョーさん、
何？
アメリカに帰る前にもう少し付き合ってもらえるか。
そうね。条件が2つあるわ。
条件？
一つはこのタイムマシンを調べさせてほしいってこと。
もう一つは？
あなたのことオカリンさんって呼ばせてもらう。あなたは私をマホって呼びなさい。悪くない条件だと思うけど。
There was an innocent smile on her face, the likes of which I'd never seen before.
わかった。マホ。
よろしく、オカリンさん。
When she put her small hand against mine, I felt solid warmth. Well, that was certainly an interesting beginning to this route. Wasn't expecting it to, like, start with Kirisu and make me be like, oh, wait, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, everybody's there, and all of a sudden he wakes up, and it's the future, and the war is happening, and Luca dies. It was just a whole lot. And now we are thrust back into the past, or present time again. And now with him actually experiencing the war and learning that he didn't die in 2025 and that his memories were digitized, it seems like he definitely has more of a resolve to do this and actually try and get to Steins Gate. So that's good. That's good that, like, kind of sad that he needed to actually see the future firsthand to really understand how serious it was and how dire it was. No matter how much Suzuha told him about how bad it was going to be, he just stuck his head in the sand and refused to believe her. But, you know, better late than never, and now he says he's going to, like, try and free Kirisu's memories. So this does seem to be like this is going to be the Kirisu route. What him releasing her memories, what that is going to do for the future and how that's going to get him to Steins Gate, I'm not sure. But Maho, once again, on board, going to help him out. And yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. I'm not sure how long this route is going to be. But we'll see. We'll see how long it takes me. And then I believe you've got 2 more endings after this. So we're kind of heading towards the end. It'll probably still be a while before I get there. But I am intrigued by this beginning of this route to see where it's going to go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned next week for part 21. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Salieri, Revealing Storm, Amlife, Icognito, Saturn Sins, Doublis91, Harry Gazip, and Kenju Storm.